Welcome to Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. Our first Reddit post is from Nunamano. Employer screwed me over. I screwed him back with help from the FBI. It was the early 1990s, and I worked for a telemarketing company with the initials SMC in Logan, UT. I was employed for 2 full days when I came to the conclusion that we were just scamming old people out of their money using grossly unethical methods. I quit after my second day of work, and when I received my paycheck I noticed that I was paid minimum wage instead of the $10 per hour I was promised when they hired me, so I went back to complain. The office manager told me you didn't finish the 90-day probationary period, so you only get minimum wage. Bullshit. They never said anything about a probationary period in training, and I know it wasn't in the contract I signed upon hire. Yeah, I actually read it before signing it. As the office manager opened the door to have me leave, he said, "See, y'all wouldn't wanna be y'all." I was fuming. I called the city offices and discovered that SMC didn't have a business license and reported them. Less than an hour later, I watched as the police showed up and told them they would have to shut down operations until they had a business license. It took them 2 weeks. When they were back in business, I used an elaborate scheme to get myself on their call list and recorded several of their employees' efforts to sell me their crap. It was Utah and legal to record the calls. I knew what they were doing wasn't just unethical, it was illegal. Not only did I report it to a local news station who had their consumer reporter Debbie Dujanovic do a 2-part story on the scummy company, but I also reported them to the FBI. The owner of the company was one of the 200 people that was arrested by the FBI in a nationwide sting of dishonest telemarketing companies. The FBI called it Operation Disconnect. See, y'all wouldn't wanna be y'all. Ha. This comment is from Kickser4Trides. You are seriously awesome. It's official. Way to go. Not only did you nail someone who screwed you over, you shut down an asshole illegal operation. This comment is from Capucho. God, if only you could have told him see y'all wouldn't wanna be y'all to his face. This comment is from Althinksfree. IKR or have that phrase on a shit and stand outside the building as scumbag boss is walked past me on way to cruiser. I'd have such a shitty grin on my face. Our next Reddit post is from Expostretum Tour. Company recruits me for senior position, brings me to their HQ, project gets cancelled while I'm interviewing and I'm supposed to pay for the trip. I don't think so. Was reading a post in another subreddit regarding things that caused you to walk out of an interview, and it reminded me of this experience I had 20 years ago. Hope it fits here. TL Drive Company flies me to their home office to interview for killer position. Job disappears during interview. They won't pay for hotel or return airfare. I resolve the issue by driving the local rental car 800 miles home. During the dot-com boom in the late 90s, I became somewhat well known for my expertise with a now somewhat obsolete networking technology. I ended up getting heavily recruited by a big telecom firm in Denver to run the technical side of a huge networking project they had underway. After multiple phone interviews, I was invited out for the big in-person sit-down, a 2-day affair where I met with the big dogs, other techies, HR, etc. It was a pretty killer opportunity. Took the trip. First day of meetings went great. I felt it was a great match, etc. I did sense there was some tension between 2 groups over network architecture. Turned out that was one of the reasons they were bringing in someone more senior who could finalize the approach and get the project moving. That was fine, all part of the job, whatever. Got wined and dined after the first day, was definitely feeling like the job was a match and that I'd be moving to Denver. Went in the second day, and after another round of interviews, the division head takes me to lunch. That's when it all blew up. While we were at lunch, the firm's senior management canned the entire project and fired every person associated with it. Apparently, there was a huge internal political war going on. This project was ground zero for the big battle and this division just lost. We get back from lunch and the manager escorts me to HR where we're going to sit down and go over their offer. Instead, he's told what's going on and that he's out of a job along with everyone else on the project. At this point, I was told to leave. No apologies, it was just shitty luck for me. WTF, okay, then I'm gone. I get back to the hotel and there's a voicemail for me asking me to call the HR people. I'm pissed, but I call. They tell me they've had to cancel my return ticket and that I'd need to pay for the hotel myself for now, but that if I would submit an expense report, they might be able to get me a check. There's a second voicemail from the front desk asking me to provide a credit card for the stay. And then I get a call on my cell phone from the car rental company, which I didn't answer. Turns out they also wanted my credit card. Fuck that. I called the airline and they said my reservation had indeed been canceled. But they also acknowledged that the reservation was paid for using a fully refundable ticket which I was holding and which back in the 90s was essentially as good as cash. Said they wouldn't know for certain if I could board until I showed up at the counter with the physical ticket. Great. Just fucking great. I'm on the hook for several thousand in airfare, nice hotel, and rental car after taking several days of vacation from my job for this interview. I don't think so. Here's the revenge. I packed my bags and loaded up the rental car, left the keys in hotel room door, drove the rental car back to Dallas, stayed overnight in Amarillo, dropped the rental at the Hertz lot at DFW Airport. Over the next few months, I got several nasty phone calls from their HR and accounting departments demanding I pay them back for the trip, including paying for the $700 drop-off fee for the car. Never answered them, of course, just let them go to voicemail. Eventually got a demand letter from their legal department, paid an attorney a nominal fee to send them a demand for compensation, threatened a lawsuit letter. Never heard from the firm again. Side note, the ticket itself was still valid. I ended up selling it to a friend at a big discount, and he was able to use it. This comment is from SIA CEO. For the non-us Redditors, it's a 12-hour drive around 1,300 miles to Psi. Imgur. This comment is from Tlink. For a big telecom firm, that is incredibly petty and bush league behavior. I get that projects get cancelled and turf wars have winners and losers, but treating someone the company pursued and wooed like an internal insurgent to be eradicated by the new regime is ridiculous. They had to know that this would spread the word among your contacts and peers, you know, the kind of folks they might want to hire in the future, that they were a shit show that smart professionals should avoid. Short of you assaulting someone in the interview, the only reasonable action for them would be to say, unfortunately, the position is no longer available. Thank you for your time and consideration. The hotel and rent car are paid through tomorrow morning. I hope you have a smooth trip home. Perhaps we will have future opportunities to work together. The combined costs of your travel was probably worth 2 hours worth of rounding errors on their global billing. This comment is from Expostritum Tour. Yeah, I used to shit on them by telling the story anytime I got a chance. Certain that none of my friends ever went to work for them. From what I've read over the years, the internal politics there were extreme and divisive, and the company itself was pretty corrupt at the top. Years later, their CEO and others went to prison for insider trading. I actually felt bad for the head of the group. His phone rang once while we were eating, but he didn't answer it. Told me he believed in leaving work behind when he was eating. He had the deer in the headlights look when he found out what had happened. Now, a word from today's sponsor. Surfshark is an all-around VPN solution that can do everything from torrenting as well as streaming to browsing the dark web. Surfshark is one of the very best all-round VPN, terrific for Netflix, torrenting, confidential browsing, as well as staying safe on public Wi-Fi. Check out Surfshark today, link is in the description. Now back to the video. Our next Reddit post is from Whispers and Drawers. Racist Karen calls the cops on my cousin, so I get her business closed down. Background: my cousin 23F recently opened up her own salon. From a young age, she taught herself how to thread wax eyebrows and developed an interest in makeup and hair. Everyone in our extended family would go to her before events and on a monthly basis for their threading, waxing, hair, and makeup needs. In 2020, she had a full-time job, insulin-related, but decided to renovate the basement of her home to create a small salon space. She now spends her free time taking clients in her at-home salon, and there's nothing but great reviews. Her sister helped with the renovations and now helps her with marketing the business, social media, community pages, and I help with the finances, budgeting, price setting. We all support her and are really proud of her. The salon is our baby. We are now in the middle of a pandemic, and this greatly affected her salon business. As a result, she implemented safety measures, and our small team made sure to keep up with COVID regulations in our city. This included having one customer inside at a time, doing temperature checks, making masks, face shields, and gloves mandatory, wiping down the salon after each client, etc., etc. Also, when our city was in lockdown, the salon was closed as it is not an essential service. Incident: our city is once again in lockdown since the end of December to the end of January. The salon has been closed since the lockdown began. The salon's social media pages had been updated to let the current clientele know that the salon is closed. Now comes the Karen. Karen sees a community post from October detailing a discount that the salon was having on a certain package we offer. She comments on the post saying that she can't believe the salon is open in the middle of a lockdown when her salon has to be closed. This is important for later. Karen fails to notice that this post was made in October, when salons were allowed to operate as long as they followed safety regulations. Karen doesn't bother checking more recent posts indicating that the salon was closed. My cousin doesn't see her reply at this time. The next day, 2 police officers show up at my cousin's door while she's at a doctor's appointment. The officers ask for my cousin, and my aunt lets them know that she's not home right now. My aunt does not speak English very well and lets the officers know that she would call my cousin and ask her to come home. Maybe the officers didn't believe her, but they insisted on coming inside the home. My aunt had already called my cousin as she was worried. My cousin asked what it was about, but my aunt didn't know. My cousin then asked if they had a warrant for anything. When she found out they didn't, she told her mom not to let them come inside and that she would be there in about 20 minutes. My cousin began driving home when my aunt called her to let her know that they simply left. Hearing this, my cousin was less worried and decided to go grocery shopping as planned before heading home. Turns out the officers came back half an hour later and once again demanded to see my cousin. My aunt called my cousin again and asked her to come home, but in the 20 minutes she took to come home, the officers were gone. They had left a card and asked her to call back. My cousin managed to get a hold of the officers and was told that someone had reported her business. They claimed that she was operating during the lockdown and they had proof. My cousin knew this wasn't true, as the salon had been closed for quite a while. By now, my cousin had seen the comment from earlier and mentioned that she knew exactly what their so-called proof was, but the post in question was from October. My cousin was very upset, as this post was not even close to being actual evidence of her operating now in January. She was also very upset that they insisted on coming inside the house with no cause or warrant when they could clearly see that my aunt does not understand the language very well. At the end of the conversation, the police officer apologized to my cousin, and we thought it was the end of it. You must be wondering how we know that Karen was the one who called the cops. Well, she told us. The next day, my cousin received a message she realized was from the woman who commented on the post. Karen decided to pretend like she's a customer. Karen, can I book an appointment? My cousin, hey love, we are currently closed due to the lockdown. Once the lockdown is over, we will be more than happy to book you in. Karen, oh my, was there yesterday, my apologies. My cousin, you must have gotten the date wrong. The salon is not taking clients until the lockdown is over. Thank you. Karen, but I didn't get the date wrong, lol. I also know the police came due to you being open. Take care. My cousin, I'm not going to sit here and entertain your boring life. Maybe for a change you can find another hobby rather than spreading lies and wasting people's time, including the police's time. Or even better, find an actual job. Have a good night. Karen, I own my own spa that's closed, as should yours be. My mom is the one who called the cops. You are not entertaining me at all. Go back to your own country instead of fucking with ours. My cousin decided to block her at this point. My cousin was happy this was all over. Her sister and I were still outraged at the racist comment and how someone could make up lies about a small business that led to the cops terrifying my aunt. When my cousin told me about Karen, the fact that she had her own spa really stood out. I did some digging. Revenge. Turns out Karen runs her own spa, out of her house. Doing some more snooping, I found reviews from her clients on her business page that were posted on days that the city was under lockdown. The reviews could be from clients who received services before the lockdown and only now had a chance to write a review. To be sure, I found Karen's Instagram page. I decided to use her own trick against her. I created a new account with a generic name and followed her page so she couldn't see that I was related to my cousin. I then messaged her to ask about the prices for her services. Me, hey, I love your pics. I was wondering how much you charge. Karen, hey girl, thank you so much. What service are you after? Me, I'm really interested in the BB Glow facial. Karen, that's awesome. My biggest seller for sure. Normally it's $125, but it's on BOGO, so you pay for one session and get two. Me, that's such a great deal compared to others. When is your next available date? Karen, where are you located? I can't have people come to me in lockdown, but I travel to my clients. Karen was not operating from her home location due to lockdown restrictions, but was traveling to her clients' homes, which is still against regulations. I then made up a lie about my home not having adequate space and asked for her address so we could meet up at my friend's place somewhere between her and I's locations. She foolishly told me her address. During this time, I also tried joining other community groups that she was a part of. In one particular group, people in the community were promoting their small businesses. She had recently made a post about discounts on her services for the month of January. I immediately went online and submitted a report about her business still operating, including screenshots, her address, full name. A few days passed by, and I had forgotten to check up on it as I was busy with life again. I saw the incident report number on a sticky note I had on my desk and decided to check in. Apparently, this was not Karen's first offense. Karen had already been fined $750 for having a client in her home during the first lockdown in my city. After being fined, she decided to change her business model and go to the client's home instead. Now, she was fined $10,000. I was still following her on Instagram, so I decided to check it out. She had gone on a rant about how she was going to do very bad things to the person who reported her. She also mentioned that she was no longer allowed to run her business. I'm not sure what type of ban the regional police put on her, but I immediately deleted the account and exited the groups I had joined earlier. At the end of the day, Karen got what she deserved, and I fulfilled my dream of pretending to be Sherlock Holmes. Edit. Wow, thank you to everyone who took the time to read the story. I'll try replying to your comments as soon as I can. I've called my cousin and sent a link to her so she can also read through the comments too. Edit. 2. I noticed that some people didn't believe the fact that the woman was racist. This subreddit does not allow pics, so I've replied to their comments. This comment is from Idroom. It's always amazed me how people in glass houses love to throw stones. And she'll never understand the irony. This comment is from Iraq Duklaw. Embers from bridges burned behind you can ignite bridges in front of you. Bridges burned by deliberate acts of arson can burn extremely hot. Karen stood on a straw bridge with a white phosphorus match. This comment is from Usernamis Musernum. My mom being the evil cunt she did unlicensed daycare, ranting daily about how licensed providers were out to get her. As soon as she gets licensed, she started her hobby of hunting down and reporting unlicensed centers. People are just shit. That was Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. If you like this content, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you are notified of new uploads. We upload new videos every day. Also subscribe to our Patreon, as that will help us a lot. See you next time.